Okay, so reading two, part two. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, so much is, you know, when I realized that I forgot to clear out my phone with all these big readings I've been doing lately, I was like, oh shit, when I was doing the group reading. And so when it was done, I said to Spirit, I put it on pause and I said, I'm happy to do two videos. It's no big deal. I asked all throughout. They said, no, 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 no. So whenever they split it up like this, I know that it's meant to happen this way because even though my phone was pretty full, I know how like the gigabytes and all that works. Like I could have easily kept going to finish the reading, but they didn't have me do that. So whenever they have me break it up like that, that there's a reason for it. So it means that like maybe, somebody only needed that much medicine, maybe they were done. They're like, I'm done. That's good, or maybe it's because it's something where the other people don't need to see the beginning. You know what I mean? They don't need to see the group reading. They don't need to see reading one or the beginning of reading two. You know what I mean? Like most reading two really, because we were almost done with reading two. But you know what I mean? Like they were only meant to see reading two or reading three. So I always feel like I used to get really upset about it, but I've learned over time that it literally, no, there's a purpose for it. So let's pick up where we left off. So, and if you just are finding yourself here, you might want to go back and there'll be a link below in the description box to take you to the original video where we had this. Cause like I said, I'm a medium. I do as I'm told. And I don't mean it like I do as I'm told. I mean, like, spirit always has a reason, even if we don't understand it. And it's not meant to always be for us to understand. So we were talking about the pilgrim energy, the wanderer, the traveler, the apprentice. So I feel like for some of you, the reason why I'm bringing this up is they had me reread those words. And I feel like for some of you, it's time to be an apprentice. It's time to like take on that energy. Maybe you're meant to travel somewhere to study. Maybe you want to work with ayahuasca and you're like, I want to fucking go to Costa Rica. I want to go to, like find out like where the base of something is. Maybe you want to work with plant medicine, but you're really interested in a certain part of the world. Just make sure it's safe because it is an interesting time right now. So just make sure that, where you're going, that you feel safe and all that good stuff, and do the research. And there's a lot of wars going on. So just be really mindful and careful and sit with spirit about that. Cause your journey or apprenticeship could be 5 minutes down the road. You know what I mean? And maybe you're not meant to leave where you are at all. And the journey you're meant to go on is a spiritual one, is a mental one, and has nothing to do with leaving your home at all. So this is saying we all have a deep longing to answer the call, to get unstuck. What are the obstacles between you and the door? And I spoke about this in the other readings. I've been working with gardening, so my hands, no matter how much I wash them, they're kind of jacked up right now. So I apologize. I know I don't have the pretty frilly nails that other people. I've been thinking about doing the press-ons. I'm like, it might be kind of fun because people are like, dude, they're so different now. They're like, you can get little press-ons that you can just put on and they'll stay on, just during your reading. And I'm like, I don't know. If spirit calls me to, I will. But anyway, so if you see that, it'd be like, damn, a girl's hands are dirty. That's just me getting in the dirt. So maybe that's what you need to do too. But what's keeping you from, where you need to be or where you need to go? Or what stories are you telling yourself? Let me tell you something. I went up the ladder. I worked in high fashion and I went up the ladder so fast, and everybody would ask me all the time. I ended up becoming a student ambassador at my college because, they were like, what is your fucking secret? What is your secret? And I'm like, my secret is that you do a lot of shit for free. You do a lot of shit for free. But that's where I learned. So, I mean, honestly, like, I think I did, at the end of my career, I think I had counted that I did about 30 plus runway shows. And I did all different facets, from being a runner to being a dresser to managing the models to you name it. And I said, I think I did at least the first half of the shows I think I did for free. Now, obviously, as I got bigger and, you know what I mean, and whatever, and grew, the last show I did was a Chanel Couture show. So yeah, I think I got like $30 or $50 an hour. I don't remember now. It was a lot of money. But at the same time, when you're doing, a runway show, it's not very long, especially when you're a dresser. You have your call time, and then you get acquainted with your model and your clothes and all this stuff. And then, but then once the show is over, the dressers, like, they're done. Like they don't have to, you know, there's like, I mean, it depends on the show though. It just depends on the show because it's smaller designers and bigger designers. But anyway, but on the bigger designers, yeah. But if you're playing a higher part, you know, you're going to be there, you know, for 3 hours, but $150, you know, to me, especially back then was like 15 years ago. God, that's so weird to think that was 15 years ago. 14 years ago was the last show I think I did, or 14 and a half years ago. And to this day is one of the best Chanel collections of all time. And I got to work on it and put my hands on it. It was so cool, one of a kind. I mean, I was like one step away from Karl Lagerfeld. It was pretty cool. But I digress. I don't want to be that nerd, but it was more for exciting, cool. Like when you're someone who loves something so much and then you get to work with like the big guns, it's a pretty exciting thing. But you know, but I had to do that. I mean, I've worked in shows where I had, you know, a 15-year-old model who it was her first show and it was a local designer. And so we were sharing the same space with the catering staff. And, you know, I had a 15-year-old, it was her first show. And she's like, I don't feel comfortable, you know, being topless in front of these cater waiters. You know, she's like, and I was like, of course not. I'm like, that's fucking horrible. That's like, you know, but I mean, I've seen shit, you know, until then you get to the big guns where the last show I did, they were the biggest models in the area, the most famous models, you know what I mean? And like, they're like standing there with their boobs out. They don't care. And the fucking waiters are running into the walls. They could give a shit, right? I mean, like these are like seasoned pros. Although we did have a girl there that was her first show. And I was like, this is your first show. I'm like, you got a fucking Chanel couture show as your first show. She's like, yeah. She'd been doing print since she was like 10 or 12 or whatever. But she was same. She was like 14 or 15. And I was like, holy shit. But luckily she didn't have to like be naked or anything like that. But some of the other pros were like, they didn't give a shit. They just don't care, right? Because they're like, I'm just a body. It's just a body. They're just tits. Like, who cares? We've become so repressed in so many ways. But anyway, I don't know why we went down that road. So what I'm saying is that, there we go. Thank you. I had to do a lot of things for free. That's just one thing. I've done a lot of different jobs where when I wanted to learn it, I did shit for free. Just like people helped me for free. You know, the exchange of energy was like prayers and all that good stuff and meditations and sending good juju my way. But, you know, there was a lot of times for a lot of things, you know, like this, like I'm not getting paid to do this. Like, I mean, you guys donate when you can and all that. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. But we are not at the level yet where I am going to make money. I will eventually, but I'm not right now. Is that going to stop me from doing this? Nope. I made $50 last week. That's it for the whole week. That's all I made. That's all I made for the whole week. I don't even know how many readings I did. 7 or something. That's all I made. That's okay. Because some weeks I'll make hundreds. Some weeks I make thousands. You know, it just changes. It always changes. You just never, ever, ever, ever know. So we have to keep the faith. We have to keep going. We have to keep up the pilgrimage. We have to keep up the pilgrimage. Also, because it's 2 X's and the number 20, and you take away the 0, that's 2, that's duality. So I feel like for some of you, this is your time to shine and walk both lines. So here's your last message from Spirit. Even in the stillness of meditation, the pilgrim feels the movement of the heart toward what it loves. It's very powerful. Life is life is life. We are humans here. We don't know 100% what's happening all the time. We're not meant to. You know, we're just not meant to. We're meant to be here and to learn and grow and be the light workers and the earth angels. I'm seeing if they want me to pull any more cards for you. You know, that is our job here. But that is our job here. So if you want more medicine, we did most of the medicine in part 1 of this. So follow the breadcrumbs around. There'll be links for everything. We haven't done this in so long, but it's kind of funny because I've been so good about like keeping up with things. And the whole point of this energy is about transition and forgiveness. So in the first half, we spoke about like, you know, traveling and you know, letting things go and moving forward. We talked about the Fool and the Tarot. So if any of this clings to you, or if any of this, you know, go back and watch that. I'm not going to, for those who watched the first part, I don't want them to have to, you know, go through it again, even though it's always good. I feel like I'm going to leave that right there, and I'm going to see if Spirit has any channeling to come through. Let's clear the air a little bit. Do we have any channeling? Okay. No, but I feel like I kept seeing, I know that that's not an E, but I kept seeing an E. So I feel like if that, like a lowercase e, so I don't know if that's someone's initial. I don't know if that means anything to you, but I feel like I would be remiss if I wasn't going to tell you that. Okay. And I think that's it. One more ask of Spirit. Do we have any more messages for reading too? Nope. Well, thank you for being here. We love you so much. And welcome to the new people. I feel like somebody, the reason why they broke this up is because I feel like somebody found this in like some random thing. I don't even know if they're going to find it in real time, but I don't know. But either way, I love you. Keep following the breadcrumbs is all I can say. And welcome to the channel, and welcome you guys to the new people, and welcome back to those of you who keep coming back. And thank you so much. And if you'd like to work with me or contribute anything to the work on this channel, it is never expected, but it is always loved and appreciated. But it's no big deal if it's not in your wheelhouse. Prayers work too. Prayers work. All right. I love you. Until next time, take good care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you at the next reading. And we're going to move on to reading 3. Okay. Wow. Sometimes when things happen like that. So what do you guys think? So those of you watching it all, do you see that with like when the way they broke that up? Remember, those of you who've been with me a long time, I just get so mad about that. Now I don't get mad. I'm more like, I know there's a purpose. I just don't know for what. You know, so it is what it is. Okay. All right. So we closed the portal for reading 2. Thank you, reading 2. And now we open the portal for reading 3. Let me see if Spirit wants me to do a check-in. Do we want to take a break before we jump into reading 3? Do I want to take a break before we jump into reading 3? Okay. No. So here we are. So welcome reading 3. Welcome reading 3. Oh, no, down it was 1212. Ooh, then 1213, my birthday. But 1212, I feel like that's an angel number for reading 3. I saw numbers for the other ones, but they didn't come up as much. I mean, we did see 101, I think, on reading 2. Okay, so let's see. Reading 3. What archetype wants to talk to you? Reading 3. What archetype wants to talk to you? Reading 3. Reading 3. By the way, I was going down memory lane with some old friends last night. And I don't know if some of you, it just came up. So I feel like, okay, so 2 came out. The other ones were just 1. So I'm going to take that to be very real. Okay, so... And I feel like they almost like want to be like not touching each other. That's interesting. I don't know what that means, but I'm going to leave it be. Ooh, picture. Ooh, maybe they want this for the cover. Thanks, you guys. We're welcome 3rd quarter moon energy. We are in the transition and forgiveness phase. But also, what did you say, Spirit? Yes, we are moving from the Taurus energy to the Gemini energy in real time. So thank you, Taurus. Thank you, Taurus. Earth energy. We're going into the air energy of Gemini. And they're telling me to jump into this card on the left. Okay. Ooh, the prayer. Oh, the prayer. Which is also number 65, which is the number 11. So let's go into the book. While I'm looking into the book, I feel like the card wants you to look at it. Also, does anybody else notice that it kind of looks like a nest right here? And this kind of, I don't know why, but I saw like a tree. So that's interesting. For me, I just got like, oh, and then there's a star right here. I just got a lot of information. Interesting. They didn't have me zoom in on the other ones. They had me bring the card up. I could have just as easily zoomed, but they didn't want that. Also, I was going to move the butterfly around and they want that there. So work with the butterfly spirit medicine. But I feel like the hand reaching out of the nest is like reaching, like, I feel like this almost feels like seclusion. So I definitely want you to describe it. I'm also going to say what they want me to say. This feels like somebody's like trying to reach out of seclusion to the tree of life, but they're like not quite there yet. So that's a personal reference for me for sure. But I feel like that's for somebody else. Like maybe you've been in hermit mode a little bit too long. But interesting that 65 is also the number 11. And we said that. So if you were drawn to reading 2, you may want to go watch it. And I always say, like, don't make something your story if it's not your story. But on that note, I do want to let you know that after Sacred Sunday, episode 2, I was pulled to record a pick a reading for relationships, love relationships. It was all about twin flames. It was really interesting. I won't say which ones, and they didn't have me say this before, but I will say this. Out of the 3 readings, one reading there, it's like, that's why I feel like spirit is like, it's very like, I want people to, and I say it in the readings and the pick reading, I'm like, be very mindful, because I know a lot of times that people like to watch all of them, but sometimes they're very particular about us only watching one because it applies to the story. You may learn something from the other ones, yes, but they don't want you to inject things. So the only thing they're going to tell me is, or the only thing they're allowing me to share with you is, out of the 3 readings, they were like 3 separate stories. And I felt like one was like a twin flame journey. One was like, it feels like a twin flame journey, but it's more like a soulmate journey. And then like the other one was like it was like, I'm just going to say the mystery reading, because I was going to say it and they're saying them out. I'm like, okay, and I totally understand why, but they're all, I won't tell you what numbers or what, but all 3 of them deal with that topic, those topics. So ambiguous relationships and twin flame relationships and soulmate relationships. So if you're struggling in any way, shape, or form in love in your life, you know, even with self-love, I feel like, because there was like one of the readings, I was like, I felt really drawn to, like, you know, it was about that too, you know, because you're healing through, like, sometimes it's good to be in certain relationships because that's how we learn how to love ourselves. Does that make sense? So yeah, it was really powerful. I really highly recommend it. It was like, it was calling to me for days and I didn't know when it was going to happen. And I was really surprised they had me do it that day, but it all worked out perfectly. And I'm glad, because now after this, I'm going to really take some time to relax until the new moon, because there's a lot of things I need to do inside and outside my house. So I don't know how many more readings I'll be doing before then. So that may be why they had me do it. I had a lot of good energy on that day. And also, if you're not aware of Sacred Sunday, it's every Sunday at noon Pacific Standard Time. I'm going live, and Spirit is going to be different every week. We're going to be connecting together as a community. And so far, they've been completely different. Episode 1 from episode 2, there's a playlist for it. And then also, if you look under live, you'll see them. But I also created a playlist. So if if I ever do any other things live again. Okay, so that is that. Those are the messages that I am receiving. I'm also feeling like it's for some of you, you need to get out of your house and go into, get into the light, get into the sunshine, but also, like, I'm feeling like connecting with nature. It's been a big one for us for a minute. Like, it's literally been a big one for us for a minute now, where Spirit is like, you just got to connect with nature. Okay, so the prayer, the worship, the reverence, the homage. What is prayer? When are we in a state of prayer and when are we not? To whom or what do we pray? Archetypally, the practice of prayer has been with us since the dawn of time as a remedy for the omnipresent self-centered thinking that spins us toward illusion. Prayer leads us beyond our ego as we move from our little story to the big one. Some say we are in a state of prayer anytime we are not in the center of our own thoughts. Others say prayer is a natural result of gratitude. Perhaps it is simply surrender or service. Whatever prayer is for you, this card reminds us of its importance. Get quiet, low, humble, and soft. Bow and touch the ground as your heart lifts to the sky. Though it may be uncomfortable, it is time. Nothing else will do. Ooh, and you guys know the theme of this was about getting quiet. Oh my gosh, when I looked down, it was 1919. Okay, so hello, angels. So, I say this all the time. I feel like let's put it this way. I feel like all the people on this channel who subscribe, contribute, show up, all that good stuff. I feel like you are all light workers. We are all light workers. When I looked down, it was 1945. But I feel like but then there are some of us that are earth angels. It's like all earth angels are light workers, but not all light workers are earth angels. You know what I mean? It's kind of like when I used to say about the witches, right? Like all witches are healers, but not all healers are witches. It's kind of the same thing. And angels and witches to me are the same thing. They come from the angel realm, at least in the energy that I've experienced it. Also, that 1945 feels like a year, and I feel like this has come up before. So this is either a year that someone was born in our tribe. And thank you, beautiful elder, for being here. And if not, I feel like it was either you died in that year in your past life, 2023. Ooh, and that was felt like a year too. Or it could be somebody who died. It could be somebody who was born in 45 and died in 2023. Those numbers were like glowing to me. So do you have a family member or friend or somebody, loved one, that was born in 1945 and died in 2023? Because that is really strong. That's at least one person. If you don't want to say, you don't have to, but feel free to comment below and illuminate us with your story. We love that stuff. But the numbers keep coming, and I feel like you guys see angel numbers all the fucking time. I've been seeing them like crazy lately. 333, 222, 444, 1133, 1122, 1144. Like, I mean, I've been seeing them nonstop, constantly, all the time. And spirit is telling us that connecting with prayer is our way to go. That is our beacon of light, 2112. And those are mirrors of each other. What did you say? What's today? Today's a 7-day. That's right, because it's the 20th and it's the 5th month, and 2025 is a 9, and then 20 you take away the 0. So today's the number 7. So interesting. We're working, and we love this when we work with the moon cycles, right? Because we have 7, is a week, and 7 times 4 is 28, and the moon cycles, and blah 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 blah. So there's something really powerful here with this reading 3 for your group. So when we're in light with the prayer energy, the worship, the reverence, the homage, we're like respecting ourselves, our elders, all that good stuff. We're offering to be of service, and we're asking for guidance, right? Like we're offering ourselves. Almost every day I say to Spirit, how can I serve today? How may I help myself and the collective? I've learned to like put myself in there too. Like, how can I help myself? Because I feel like a lot of you aren't helping yourself enough. In fact, I'm feeling like this need to pull out. That sounded, that's what she said. Sorry. I'm like, I was talking to somebody recently that's really spiritual too, and they made a really crass, silly 12-year-old boy joke, my friend used to say. But I think there's something to that too. They want us to also be enlightened and enheartened. I don't know if that's a word, but to be more lighthearted, and not take, it's like, is this serious? Yes, it's fucking serious. But is it like the end all be all? No. I mean, there's so many fail safes put in place that they're like, take your ego out of it. Like the world is not going to end if you don't show up. I also feel like they had me do this because I feel like there's somebody trying to talk to us from the grave. Like for real, whoever this person is. I just heard Audra. I don't know who that name is. I heard Aunt Audra, or I heard Audra and then I heard Aunt. So I don't know. So it could be more than one person, but because Audra is a really cool name, but it's very, I'm going to have to research that when we're done with this, because that's a really cool name. It's very specific. So I don't know if that's the name of the person that died, or Audrey. I don't know, but I heard Audra, and yeah. So, okay. And this is the first real channeling I'm getting from somebody that's crossed over, and maybe they were waiting for this, I don't know. And maybe they're saying like you can connect to them through prayer. I'm hearing some of you obsess too much of the numbers. So I was trying to get the Roman numerals in there. L is 50, 10 is, or X is 10, and V is 5. Those are Roman. Sorry, I just realized I put my hand over the speaker. Ooh, I saw 23, even though I know it was 2353, I saw 2323. So this is that person. They're still here. Something really serious happened for some of you, and I feel like they want you to stop looking at that. It's with someone. Gosh, this is where I'm like, gosh, I wish this one was live. I almost went live today, which is interesting. I don't know why, but I was really drawn to it. Maybe this is why, because I feel like whoever this person is, they're like, they want you to stop it now. Because you're like obsessed with it. And I feel like also there's somebody that's obsessed with numbers. This is 17's been a number for a lot of us for a really long time. I mean, a lot of us, like more than like 3 or 4 of us. Like, I would want to say more like 5, 6, or 7 of us that have been like, dude, I see 17 all the time, or I see 71. I'm like, yeah, that's 17 backwards. And I'm like, but it's really the number 8. And I remember my one friend who was seeing 17 all the time. I'm like, well, it's also the number 8. They're like, oh yeah. And I was like, yeah. And I remember at the time in 2023 was a 7 year. And I'm like, well, 2024 is going to be an 8 year. And they're like, oh yeah. So it could be like, I feel like some of you, like, it's time to pull out of like whatever energy, funk, whatever, something. I feel like something started in 2023. And it's, and for some of you, it's like, yeah, you're like, yeah, it's not moving fast enough. They're like, yeah, well, it's going in divine timing. For some people, they want you to remember that. But also for some of you, it's not moving because you're not moving. And if you are drawn to reading 2, you might want to go look at that because it spoke about that. But I feel like some of you, like, you're obsessed with certain things, 25, 28. Those could be ages too, by the way, because it was 25 semicolon 28, right? So, that's interesting. Well, 25 is 7 and 28 is 10. Oh, which is 17, which is, yeah. So there's something with that, and 8 infinity. There's something there. Okay, let's get to this because I feel like there's more to this. Okay, so when we're in light, we're in that, right? Hold on, I got to turn the heater off. It got really cold when it started raining, and now I'm like really hot all of a sudden. You know what? I'm going to take my socks off. I'm going to take my socks off. It got hot in here. All right. Okay, so when we're in shadow, we're expecting results and self-aggrandizement. I don't even know if I've ever even heard that word. Right? You're like, I'm the cat's pajamas. Okay, so if you want to go deeper into this energy, ask to be of service. Whenever I leave the house, I say to Spirit, how may I serve? How can I help? I say that in the morning, but also when I'm leaving, I put my what I call my Glinda the Good Witch bubble on. And I do pick some crystals and stones to take with me sometimes in my pocket. Sometimes I give them away to people when Spirit calls me to. One of our tribe members recently, I was like, I would never ask you to give me anything. I'm like, but I'm really drawn to have you. She's kind of a crystal queen. And I was like, I said, I would really drawn to have you send some crystals this way. And she's like, oh my gosh, dude, I totally, without you even telling me that, I felt that too. I'm like, cool. She's like, I already started making a thing for you. I'm like, awesome. And I said, that's what I love about our tribe, because we all work together in different ways. You know, it's like the people who can afford to like financially help me. The people who can't afford to financially help me, pray for me, and things just come my way when I need them, right? And other people, it's like they send me tangible things we need, like oracle decks, crystals, essential oils, any healing tools, you name it. I mean, I get things from people all the time. Herbs, food. I've had people send me, they're like, one of our tribe members was like, let me know when you're settled. I want to send you some clothes. I saw this really cute dress for you. And I'm like, dude, I fucking love you. I'm like, thank you. You know what I mean? Because that's how it works, right? Because it's like, we give a little, we get a little. We give a little, we get a little. So the prayer is like, it's okay to keep praying for yourself, but it's also about being of service to everyone else. When you get to, I know I tell you guys about self-care and it's about you first. Yes, it is. But sometimes the best self-care is actually helping another person. Sometimes the best self-care is when you're having a shitty day is to go play with a bunch of fucking dogs at a shelter that, especially one, that it's like they may be euthanized or whatever, right? So it's like, you want to go play with them, bring them a cheeseburger, whatever, like find out the rules at the shelter, sign up at the shelter, find a place where you can volunteer at, maybe you love the elderly, find something that you can do. This is what lights me up. I love doing this. When I don't do readings for long periods of time, I fall into serious depressions too, because being connected to Spirit and doing this work, it's my life's work. It feels good. I know that it's part of me. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I really am doing something, like my purpose, like my path has meaning. My purpose has meaning. You know what I mean? Like my life has meaning. Also, my eyes keep going down to that R. Do you see that under the moonstone, or above the moonstone, excuse me? So under the hand, under the nest, at the end of the prayer word, that R. So I feel like R may be an initial. So it might be, what did we say? Oh no, it was Audra. So I was going to say, so this might be for you. You may have an R initial, or you're dealing with somebody with an R, or maybe the person that's talking to you from the other side is an R. Maybe it's an aunt. I don't know. But I definitely feel that. Could be that you're meant to work with moonstone too, because I don't always bring, attention to the moonstone when it's here. But, and all different stones and crystals have different energies and properties. This one is one of those that, like, you have to really look at it to see it. There's a rainbow on it, and it's really hard to find. But when it shows up, I always get really excited because I'm like, there it is. I'm like, there's the rainbow, right? Like if the sun was shining in here, I wonder if I brought the... Anyway, I was going to say, I don't want to... Oh, look at it. Oh, look. Do you see it? Do you see it? It's very vague, but let me see if I can. I feel like they want me to. Do you see it? Do you see the rainbow in there? And then they got the little crystal there too. But yeah, so look at that. You can see it. Sometimes you can't see things, you got to look below the surface. So I feel like this is some serious medicine for you guys. And since it's in the transition and forgiveness energy, I feel like they're giving us the green light to go to this card, because I feel like it has, oh my gosh, look at that. I couldn't even finish it. Look at the hand. Another hand. The Maiden, number 8. Yeah, if you didn't watch any of the other readings and you were pulled to them, you may want to watch them, because this is really powerful. I don't want to say too much because we were talking about that. Okay, so no, they want me to zoom in like I did the other one. Okay, so the Maiden. So, they call it the Maiden, the Mother, and the Crone. So I feel like we're going to read it, obviously, but before I go further, I feel like for some of you, this is why. Okay. And remember how I said this kind of reminded me of a tree? And look at the trees. The cards are very similar. And you know what's funny is the first card is 65. So they're like very far away from each other. It's not like the next one in the deck kind of thing, So let's go to number 8, the Maiden. Is there anything else? Ooh, I automatically went to the Mentor. So that's for somebody too. So maybe some of you are meant to, maybe you're on the path, maybe you're in the Maiden energy. So when they say the Maiden, the Mother, the Crone, the Maiden is like before you become a mother, right? Like in your youth, like basically from birth to like your 20s, right? Like you're the Maiden. And then from like your 20s to your like 40s, you're the mother. And then you go through menopause, right? And then you go into the Crone. So I feel like you are the Maiden and you're more in that energy right now, or they want you to work with the Maiden energy on this path. And it says the Maiden, the Virgin, the Princess, the Innocent. The Maiden archetype is the epitome of innocent arousal, naive sensuality, and precarious purity. She is compelling and addictive because of her flawless and youthful glow. Oh my gosh, I literally saw this, Spirit. I saw it. Okay, so for some of you, this is the issue. You are obsessed with getting older. Somebody recently that I didn't think was that, I never thought of them as being somebody that had like a fear-based energy around age. And I was like, aren't you excited? I'm like, your birthday's coming up. And they're like, no, why would I be excited? I'm like, because it's your birthday? I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, I'm getting older. They said something like that. And I go, you know what? You need to look at it like a privilege. I'm like, do you know how lucky you are to have another year? You have another year to make your life the best life you've ever had. You have another chance, another opportunity. I'm like, please don't look at it that way. I'm like, if you can, try and look. I'm like, but I've been there, so I understand that. But there's something really beautiful to aging if you allow it to happen naturally. I was watching, it came into my orbit, but Jessica Simpson's having like a really huge comeback right now. And I've been supporting her because I think what she's doing is really powerful. And I think her music is good. And I think her songs are good. And I watched some of the behind the scenes of her music. And I think she's trying so hard to like be who she's always wanted to be as an artist. And people are going to like her or not like her. And I think that's harsh, like let people fucking change and evolve. She's a grown ass fucking woman. She's in her 40s. She's not a bubblegum pop star anymore, in her teens and 20s. you know, people are still bringing up things of and calling her stupid and all this stuff, and I'm like, oh really? Because she's a fucking billionaire. And I don't think people realize that she, during that time that she wasn't doing music, she didn't just become, you know, a wife and raise children. She also started a label, you know, her own label, and became a fashion, you know, whether you like her or don't like her or whatever, it doesn't matter. She's a self-made millionaire, and I think last year she hit billionaire status. It was either last year or the year before. So, you know, she's doing what she's always wanted to do, is make music, but she's doing it on her terms. You know, she came from a very strict, like, kind of like religious background, and like they kind of put her out in the pop star, like Britney was the innocent girl you wanted to, wanted to be with, but blah blah blah, but she was the bad girl, good girl, you know what I mean? And Jessica Simpson was like, oh, she was the Christian girl, you know what I mean? Like, they just like fucking put people in compartments and labels, and it's just so messed up. So, you know, if you can, support her new music, but or at least go listen to it. But anyway, I saw her on American Idol. She was on the finale, and I just felt how nervous she was, and my heart broke for her, because it's intimidating and it's scary. She also had an alcohol addiction. I think she takes painkillers or something. I don't know. I'm not trying to, you know, throw under the bus or anything. You know, everybody has their thing. I love her, but I felt like she was on something, but she looked really nervous, and I felt like she was trying to be herself, but also trying too hard. And it was just like, and people were like, dude, that was the most uncomfortable performance I've ever seen. I'm like, well, you know what? I'm like, I know the backstory. I've been following her story ever since her new music started, you know, coming out a few months ago. And I laugh because every time I go to like Ross, most of you guys know when I shop secondhand. I've always been a thrifter, vintage. I've always been vintage meets modern girl. That's my flavor all through my decades, all the time I've changed and whatever, that's still my flavor. But I have a very boho chic vintage vibe. Well, when I go to new stores and I see things and I'm drawn to them, I swear to God, it's like always her stuff. So I was like, oh, you know, and then I started to realize, I'm like, that's interesting. Like, that's her vibe. That's who she is. But that's not like what people wanted her to be. And it takes a lot of courage and a lot of effort to break out of a mold that somebody wants you to be in. And I feel like for some of you, they're having me share this story for a reason. So it could be that, like, you know, don't focus on who you used to be. Focus on who you're becoming. Look at how that moon, I don't know if you guys can see it from this angle because I'm sitting above, but the moonstone just got really, really bright. Right? So we need to transition out of old energies and into like who we are now. Also, it was breaking my heart that like people were saying, oh my God, look at how much plastic surgery she had. And then somebody else, I don't know, I was like drawn to look at the comments. And then somebody else was like, well, so did Carrie or whatever, you know, and Carrie Underwood's the new judge, right? Because Katy Perry, you know, I don't know if she's permanently retired from American Idol or she just took time off to go on tour or whatever. But either way, Carrie Underwood stood in for her this year. And a lot of people have been talking about that. They're like, God, Carrie Underwood looks so different. Like, she's had so much work done. Everybody's had so much work done. And I'm like, unfortunately, they were big at a time that everybody was like, well, just get some Botox or just get some blah, 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 or just get some fillers or just, well, you don't like the way you look. Then, so we've come accustomed to people just like changing their looks willy-nilly. And so many people come out later and say, I wish I'd never fucking touched my face. I wish I'd never touched my lips. I wish I had just loved myself and just used makeup and just been myself. And you know what I mean? So maybe this message is for somebody in that respect as well, because Carrie and Jessica are both very beautiful women. They didn't need all that stuff. And then somebody else wrote, didn't they date the same guy? And then I thought, oh my gosh. I'm like, is that true? And then somebody brought in this whole thing and I'm like, I guess it was true. So I was like, okay, we'll add that layer on, right? So we're just fucking human beings. And both of those women are very sensitive souls. They're both artists. I don't know if they know each other. I don't know if they're friends. I know nothing about that background. But all I can share with you is being a telepathic medium and an empath. And, you know, when people really put themselves out there, I'm right, we're getting it all. All of us who are sensitive, like we feel it, we know it. And I thought they at one point when Jessica was singing, they panned over to Carrie. First, they panned over to Lionel. Lionel looked nervous for her. And I was like, oh my gosh, don't give her. I'm like, she already feels nervous. Don't give her any more fucking, you know what I mean? Like, don't feed that for her, right? And then a little while later, they panned over to Carrie, and Carrie was kind of mouthing the words that she was singing, because the first song was Jessica's song, and then she did a duet with like somebody from the show, one of the idols, and it was These Boots Were Made for Walking. So Carrie was like kind of, she knew the song, but it was really interesting because it was funny. I was thinking that too. Like, I just saw something with Jessica and I'm like, fuck, did she have her lips done again? I'm like, they look even bigger. And I'm like, or is it her makeup? Like in my mind, I was like wondering, because I saw her where she didn't have a lot of makeup on and I knew her lips were done, but like they looked even bigger. So I was like, did she freshen them for this or is it just makeup? And then they panned to Carrie and I was like, oh my gosh, her too. I'm like, what in the world? It was so interesting. Now, mind you, I'm not judging people that do that. I'm saying like, it's more of like what breaks my heart is that people feel the need to do that. People feel the need to change who they are, not because they look in the mirror and they don't notice themselves. That's a big fucking difference, right? I was trying to explain this to somebody recently who doesn't understand transgender. And I was trying to explain to them, I'm like, or being gay. And I said, do you know what it would feel like? Like, I'm like, you're straight, right? And I said, so when you wake up every day, you feel like you, right? I'm like, you look in the mirror, you feel like a man, you feel like you. They're like, yeah. I'm like, well, there are some people, I'm like, because I told them, I'm like, I work with a lot of people from children to the elderly. And a lot of times when I work with people who are going through any type of identity crisis, inwardly, it tends to go to the outward, whether somebody's changing their clothes, their makeup, their outfit, whatever, or they're literally changing their physical appearance, their outward appearance, with their appendages, like whatever it is, whatever it is. And I was saying that to be like, I didn't want to just like, but you know what I'm saying? Like, right. Or making an outie and innie, like whatever they like, one of my friends, he was so funny. He was trying to explain it to somebody. He goes, I basically, because they were like, so they're like, what do you want to know how I became? And I was like, dude, you don't have to explain yourself. They're like, no, if they want to know, I don't care. I'll tell them. They're like, do I still have a dick? Did I cut my dick off? Do I have an innie or an outie? And I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, you're so fucking funny, because they were like, I don't care. They're like, people need to be educated. Right. So that's exactly what I tried to do. I tried to like, remember that situation with my friend when that happened and try and, say the same. And I realized that I said, there are people that wake up every day and do not feel like they belong in that body. I'm like, they do not feel like they belong that gender. Having a penis feels foreign to them. They don't understand it. It's like, I go like the body snatchers. I'm like, they feel like they woke up in the wrong body. And he's like, well, God, blah, blah, blah. And I said, yes. I said, but you have to remember that we also, we come from all different parts of the universe. Earth is we agreed to disagree on some things, but on some things we agreed that Earth was a training school of some kind. And I said, so if you look at it like that Earth is a training school, then I said, wouldn't it venture to, become that some people are going to be born in different bodies and whatever. I'm like, they're an angel, an earth angel. They're a light worker to show other people that you don't have to be this person. You can be this person. You don't have to be this because you were just born this way, And then on the flip side, right, we have Lady Gaga who's like, baby, I was born this way. Some people were just born that way. Like, I was born into a female, quote unquote, body, and I love being a woman. I really do. But I am 70% masculine in my chart energy, and I am very masculine about a lot of things. And I have been in relationships with men that are like, you're just too manly for me, or you're just too butch for me. My ex-husband, he used to call it the uniform, because one of my favorite outfits I used to live in was like jeans and a tank top, or a skirt and a tank top. When I lived in LA, I lived in tank tops. I love tank tops, but my favorite kind of tank top was like what they used to call like the Italian, I don't want to say wife beater because my mother was beaten, you know what I mean? So I don't want to say that or trigger anybody, but you know what I'm talking about? Like it's a very masculine cut. And I always loved that cut. And now it's like, I realized because it looks the best on my body. I mean, I've always been into fashion. I was a wardrobe stylist for years before I worked in high fashion and all that. And so that was the style that I really liked on my body, but to him it was masculine. And he didn't like being emasculated. And I emasculated him a lot. And I look back on a lot of mistakes that I made in my first marriage and a lot of my other relationships. And I didn't realize that's what I was doing. I was just trying to be myself, but it was very emasculating to some men that could not handle that. And I tried dating women for a while too, but even with women, I found myself being more of the, like, I remember I said to my friend, I'm like, I'll tell you what, I'm like, if I ever do end up with a woman, I go, I'm sure she'll probably be like, I would be the man. They're like, no way, you're so, and back then they're like, you're so lipstick, right? They're like, you're so feminine. Like you would never, I'm like, that means nothing. I'm like, that means nothing. What does that mean? What does that mean? And I think that's the whole point of what we're going through right now on the planet, is for us to realize and identify with like what feels good to us each individually. So even, watching this reading, if you chose this reading and you're male identified all the way around, like inside, outside, whatever, it's like we all have divine feminine, we all have divine masculine inside of us, right? I just said that about myself. So it could be, even if you're quote unquote a man, you could be identifying with the maiden energy, because maybe there's like this part of you that was lost, like the youthful divine feminine in you of, looking at the world in a different way. And now Spirit's saying, well, you'll find that through prayer. You'll find that through giving back. I mean, you've got two hands here. Also with the trees, I like to bring, oh, that's what you said. I thought they wanted me to bring it closer, but they wanted me to put this here. So they want you to see it from that angle, right? Because before, when you looked at it like that, it looked like it was nighttime, right? And the trees were like, it was like the night and whatever, but it's like when you turn it this way, it looks the opposite. It looks like you're kind of in the forest. And look there's a rose there. So you may want to work with the rose energy or the rose essence, or go buy yourself some roses. This could be, speaking of, like I said in those love readings that we did, that picker reading, in one of the readings, it just kept coming up about self-love, self-care, self-care. And it could be, that was one of the things that came up, like buy yourself flowers, like do something nice for yourself. Yesterday, my hands are like, so like, I don't know if you guys can see, they're still kind of like darker. And I've got like stains on my fingers, and like I got cuts and wounds all over my hands. I was working outside yesterday, and I didn't really want to be honest. There's a lot of stuff that's been going on with my personal stuff on all levels, and the weather's been all over the place. Like, if you've been watching the readings, it's like raining, then it's not raining, it's raining, it's raining. And a lot of the projects I want to do, it's like, well, I don't want to get stuck in the middle of a project and not be able to do it. So I'm like, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then my landlord came by and he's like, just an hour a day, just go out, even if he's like, just to get the fresh air, and you know what? It's been, the things that I've been saying to everybody else, it's like he came and gave me the medicine back to myself that I needed. And, part of my agreement here is to work on the property. And I was on a roll. I was doing really good, but I didn't work on the property for just 4 days, and it just like went to shit because it's been raining, then sunny, then raining, then sunny, right? So everything's growing and blooming. And it was like overnight, all of a sudden I was like, holy shit, I noticed. He's like, did you see that one bush? I go, yeah, I did see it. I was going to clip it the next day. And he ended up clipping it. And I was like, shit, I'm like, I'm so sorry. There was like one big thing of flowers like growing out, but I was going to clip it because I wanted to bring it in for the readings. I wanted to use it. And then he ended up clipping it. So I was like, I guess it wasn't meant to be used, but you know what I mean? But I realized, like, working with my hands, I went out there and I was like, okay, an hour, I'm just going to do an hour. And you know what? When it got to be like 40 minutes, I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. I don't want to do anymore. I'm like, 20 more minutes. I'm like, just 20 more minutes. Just 20 more minutes. You promised to commit to that. I'm like, just 20 more minutes. You know what I ended up doing? I ended up staying out there for 2.5 hours yesterday. Number one, because I knew the weather was going to be really weird today. So I thought, well, I want to, in case it's raining all day, I want to at least get some of the work done. But then also I realized, like, I was enjoying it. I was really genuinely and thoroughly enjoying it. So, this could be for some of you too. It's just to get out into nature and get back, working with nature. Whatever, however that means to you. Gardening, for me, it's, gardening and landscaping right now has been really nice. And he was so sweet. He even said to me, he goes, because I've been still having issues with the mice. And he's like, oh, I don't understand why you don't get a dog or get another cat. I'm like, because I'm not meant to. Trust me. I'm like, I've asked Spirit. They told me no, I don't know when, but not right now. And he's like, all right. And then he said, what about gardening? He's like, you were talking about planting stuff. And I'm like, you know what? He's right. So I promised myself the next time I go into town, I'm like, I am going to get all of the things that I know that mice hate, that critters hate. I'm like, and I'm going to put them on the floor and the windowsills. I'm like, I'm going to start, building the little garden that I've wanted to do for the longest time. And you know what the funny thing is the things that the mice keep like driving me crazy in the certain areas are the areas that I've been decluttering and then decluttering and decluttering and putting things away. And then I thought, he's right. Now that all those things are decluttered, I have room for the plants, where before I was like, well, where am I going to put those plants? Or maybe I should bring my planter in. But sometimes my throat chakra, speaking our truth, sometimes we have to keep going through something over and over and over again until we finally get the message from Spirit. So, with that being said, the maiden is the first archetype in the trifecta of Maiden Mother Crone, and rightfully so, because she has so much to learn. The maiden is perfectly positioned for trouble to come her way and subject her to a challenge that leads to the next phase of womanhood. She must grow up, yet hesitates at the threshold. Enamored by the charms of youth, the maiden represents the side of us that is riveted and curious, drawn to shadowy forests, dark nights, and taking just one taste of poisonous fruit. Her magic is edgy and includes both shame and delight. Let yourself fall down the rabbit hole, young one. Also, it's on page 77, which is interesting because today is a 7-day. So when we're in light, we're curious, we're enchanting, we're sensual, we're full of vitality, right? That maiden energy, right? We can access these energies at any time, but also when the shadow of the energy comes, we have to recognize it, right? Because this pretends, projects, denies, and fantasizes, right? So you can be curious when we're curious, we want to do more, right? But when we're in the pretend phase, we're not actually doing it, right? We're pretending. And interesting that they talked about projects, right? Because I was just saying, when I'm actually doing the project, when I'm in it, I'm enjoying it. But for a few days, I was in denial. I was like, oh, it's, I don't. And he looked at me, he's like, an hour. And I go, and I kind of got the vibe. He was like, unless it's pouring, you can go out for an hour, right? Nothing's going to kill you. It's like 60 degrees outside. It's not like freezing temperatures. You know what I mean? Obviously, if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, family, right? If you're in the fall energy, you might be somewhere, or wherever you live in the world, you might be somewhere where it's still really cold, but still, right? It's about just connecting. It's just about connecting. Instead of being in the fantasy of it, it's being in the full vitality and living in it. And sensual, we spoke about this in the relationship readings about masturbation. We've had so much shame built around things, right? It says, right? It says the magic of the maiden is edgy because it includes shame and delight, right? Because when you're in your 20s, you're a little more edgy. You're a little more okay, I'll try it. You know what I mean? I'll try anything, that kind of thing. You're a little more, but then you're you get older and you're like, oh no, I can't do that. I can't do that. There's shame around it, right? I shouldn't delight in that energy. And they're like, why not? Why can't you fall down the rabbit hole? Why can't you? So to go deeper, they're saying work with Persephone, Alice, or any princess figures, okay? Persephone. So either work, Persephone, I believe, is the Greek goddess of love or lust. I don't remember. But Alice, obviously, when they talked about going down the rabbit hole, so Alice in Wonderland, and then the princess energy. Ella Enchanted I saw is free this month. There's tons of free princess movies all over. Maybe you need to connect with that side, though. You know what I mean? So it says, do you long to be rescued by another or receive a kiss that brings you back to life? Be weary of waiting for a prince. Break the spell of your own life. There's another rose there. And then our last one is moving from the maiden to the mother is challenging, often leaving unresolved tensions between the two archetypes for years, if not a lifetime, right? So especially if you're somebody who, like my mom, actually it was we had 3 generations in our family. My sister kind of broke the curse, so to speak, because my great-grandmother had my grandmother when she was 18. My grandmother had my mom when she was 18. And my mom was the oldest of six, couldn't wait to fucking get on her own. And, you know, being the oldest, she was like a second parent, always having to take care of whatever. And she had sex with my dad one time. My dad was 17, she was 18. They had sex. They got pregnant. It was the 60s. Their parents made them get married, kind of thing. It was kind of like, you're getting married, you know, whatever. Abortion wasn't even on this. My dad's side of the family was Catholic, so no way was she going to get an abortion, right? And then my mom's side was Southern Baptist, so, you know, was God's will, right? So like there they were. You think my parents didn't resent the fuck out of me, my brother and sister? You bet your bippy. And I had a lot of compassion for my sister for a long time, because I'm like, I don't even know what that must have been like. You know, because my grandma, at least with my grandma back in that age, 18, you were a woman. Like, you were an adult. Like, some people didn't even, like, you were lucky to graduate high school back then. You know what I mean? Like, you were lucky if you even got to go to school. Women, you know, like, there were certain things. I keep seeing, by the way, I saw 55, 33, and before that I saw something else. So I'm seeing patterns of numbers. So that means something too. And this could be ages. You could be 55 and maybe you haven't reconciled with something at 33. Maybe you weren't ready yet. Maybe you didn't want to be a parent at all, and then you became one. I don't know. But either way, I'm feeling like for some of you, you either, it was an accident, or you had children young because you thought it would be good, you know, because my mom had me when she was 22. And then ironically, my sister was planning her wedding, and to her high school sweetheart nonetheless. And so they had all these plans to do all these things. And while we were planning her wedding, she got pregnant. And of course she wasn't, you know, she's like, I'm not going to get an abortion. She's like, you know, this is the man I'm going to marry. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep the child. And so she had my niece when she was 22. And I was like, that's so interesting, because my mom had me at 22. So it's like she still was young, but that wasn't what she was planning. But then her and my brother-in-law went from like crying hysterically, holy shit, like, I don't want to have a child. I'm so pissed. Like, why is this happening? I don't want this to happen, blah, 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 blah. To then they were like, I'm so glad we had our children young. Like, you know, now by the time, you know, they're on their own, we'll be so young, we can still do all the things we want to do. And so that's what worked out for them. That's what they, you know what I mean? That was their plan, whether they knew it or not at the time. You know what I mean? Like, they were together a lifetime. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't talk to them anymore. I'm assuming they're still alive and they're together and everything is well. I hope they are in good health and all that. But you know what I mean? I wish everyone well. And whoever I've ever known, blood and bone or otherwise, I always wish them well and love. But you know what I mean? It's like everybody's path is different. But I feel like for some of you, you know, it could be something, because I feel like something was taken right when I read that. It just like really resonated deeply. And I feel like something was taken away from you, or you feel like something was taken away from you, or you never like really got to grow up or like be like the person that like you wanted to be. And Spirit's like, so what is your excuse now? Because now you have no excuse. You can be whomever you want to be. I'm just going through to make sure that there's no more messages coming through, because I was like, this is pile 3, so you never know. Okay, those are our messages. Do we have any more channelings or messages to come through at all? No. Okay. All right, you guys. So those are your messages. I hope they helped you in any way. And if you would like to work with me one-on-one, or if you'd like to contribute anything to the work that I do on this channel, all of that information is in the description box and on this channel. And we hope that you join us on Sundays, on Sacred Sundays. You know, anytime. We're going to be here, like I said, until Spirit tells me not to. The last time we did it, when we did Soulful Smudge Sunday, there's a playlist for that. Look under the playlists there for old readings and stuff. You know, I always tell people, yes, in real time, but the messages are timeless. Whenever you watch it, you know, the astrology might change, the years, the time, whatever, but like the message and the medicine is always the same. But yeah, so I'm going to be doing some cleaning up on my channels. I do think they're going to have me take some time off in the summer, but I feel like they're going to have me take some time off soon, but I don't know how it's going to work. I have a feeling if they do, it'll be around the Sunday. Do you know what I'm saying? So that I will still be there Sunday. And I know that, you know, in the Northern Hemisphere, we're going into summer. So some people, it's not going to be as easy to show up, you know, at noon Pacific Standard Time on a Sunday for the live events. That's okay. But when you can, please feel free to stop by. And we're going to have some where we're going to do live questions. Like if you want to ask Spirit a question, that kind of stuff. We're going to have one where it's just for the group. We're going to have, you know, whatever. It's going to be whatever it is. But the Soulful Smudge Sunday, the older ones, there's some really good medicine in there too. So check them out. But otherwise, I look forward to seeing you guys when I see you. And I will see the rest of you who will be at the next Sacred Sunday, episode 3. I have no idea what it's going to be about yet because they haven't had me tune into that energy just yet. But until then, take good care of yourselves and each other. Love yourself and each other. And look out for that picker reading, the relationship reading. Look out for that because I have a feeling it's going to come out before the new moon in Gemini. And otherwise, I will see you here. And I will see you live at noon on Sundays at this channel as well for Sacred Sunday. All right, you guys, I'll see you next time. Love you, love you, love you. Blessed be. Oh, bye.